until you can put faith and trust in them, there's not going to be any reconciliation. And Harry has so far not shown any way that you can put faith and trust in him, because he talks to the media even before the doors hit him in the shoulder on the way out.
Hi all, welcome to Royally Unfiltered, the show that takes you behind palace gates like never before. This is where tradition meets truth and nothing is off limits. Today, helping me tackle all the biggest headlines is, well, world-renowned royal author Hugo Vickers. And Dickie, I feel like everybody knows that you are kind of a big deal. Actually, Hugo, Dickie, as former press secretary to the late Queen and King Charles, gave me some very good social media advice that I thought only could come from like a palace expert. We were talking about trolls online, and
yes.
I said, I block them. And he said, you shouldn't block. Is it okay that I'm sharing this?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said, you shouldn't block, you should mute. Blocking inspires, blocking encourages, but muting, things just kind of fall. Things just kind of disappear. And I thought, that is why they paid you the big bucks to work at Buckingham Palace.
What big bucks?
Exactly.
That's the breaking news.
Yes.
So I thought that was really good intel, information. Because that is, it's true. We just ignore.
Well, blocking only encourages them to open another anonymous account.
Yeah.
And they'll still get at you. But if you mute them, they don't know you've muted them.
Genius.
And I was always told that, so I have some writing paper which just says Hugo Vickers on it without an address. And if somebody writes to you, I was always told, write back once without your address. If you put your address in it, you've got a correspondent for life. If you don't write back at all, then they'll kind of come and kill you.
Oh, wow. Well, that's very aggressive. That's very aggressive. So I'd been talking to you briefly over the last few weeks about this Oxford Union Society debate, but I need the details for what happened. So Hugo and Dickie, also along with Lady Colin Campbell, you were challenged. Is this correct? As an American, I'm not sure I really understand. You were challenged to a debate, and they found Republicans that feel like the monarchy died when the late Queen Elizabeth passed away. And so they set you up on Teams. You're given a certain amount of time to state your case. And you won this debate about why the monarchy is still thriving under a King Charles reign. Did I summarize that well enough?
You summarised that pretty good. It was Hugo's golden tongue that won it.
No, but of course, obviously, it was quite easy to win in a sense because quite clearly the monarchy was continuing after the death of Queen Elizabeth II. But what was nice about the debate was that we were quite calm and put forward logical and sensible arguments in a very measured way, whereas the other side were kind of ranting, and one particular guy was sort of banging the table and shouting and things. So but it was nice that it was 126 for us and 108 for them. And so this is a young, rather miscellaneous, possibly left-wing audience, students, who basically always hate everything. Mm-hmm. And it was great, I think. It was really reassuring.
It was a good result.
Yeah.
As Hugo said, we were calm, we were measured, and the other side ranting, and one of them were trotting out the age-old figures that are absolutely meaningless, and calling all those that are employed at the palace servants. Well, artisans...
I even take offence to that.
Artisans would hardly like to be called servants, and they're not servants, they're craftsmen,
right.
Craftsmen and craftswomen. So I think it was our measured calm that won through, because at the end of the day, when people rant, nobody's really interested. Mm-hmm. And their words are lost in the rant. Mm-hmm. So, it was a good result. We won.
It can turn people off, right, if you're too emotional or overly emotional.
Yeah, and if you're being shouted at, people lose interest. What was quite interesting, and I mentioned this to Hugo before we came on, there wasn't one heckle.
Oh.
No, that's true.
And you would expect it when talking and defending the monarchy, that there would be the odd heckle. You could hear a pin drop.
Oh, that's great. Was there any point that was made throughout the debate, Hugo, that you did think in your head, how can I, no, that's interesting. How can I talk this back? How can I
Not a single one, no.
Because I know one of the personalities is the author of Princess in Love, which is that book that James Hewitt collaborated on. And it was basically about his affair with Princess Diana. And I guess I was sort of surprised that she would be saying that the monarchy passed away.
Well, that's very interesting because she actually started off by saying that the last time she took part in a debate, she was on the other side. And then she gave us a long spiel about an article in the Tatler that had been spiked. Something had happened, and something she had a grievance against this magazine. Basically, I'm afraid when I got up to speak, I sort of thanked her for giving us her autobiography. It wasn't really putting forward any arguments at all.
It wasn't. No, she was very angry. She was angry that Tatler had spiked her story, yes. And yet her story, without her byline, appeared in one of the tabloids during the week. So,
but as a former press secretary to the palace, as somebody that's also worked in journalism, that is a typical Tuesday, is it not? For sports, for David Beckham, for sports figures, for politicians. You know, if you're a good publicist or if you're a good representative, you can pick up the phone and say, hey, I've got an even better story for you. I want you to kill that. I mean, that's been happening forever.
Yeah, it's called a spoiler.
Yeah.
And you go out of your way, because if you don't particularly like the story, then you sort of talk it around and leave other people to pick it up. And they did, and she didn't like it. And that's why she crossed the floor and went to the opposition.
Oh.
There's another rather interesting point. You were talking about shouting. Winston Churchill used to write in the margin of a speech, AWSL, argument weak, shout loudly.
Oh, that's very interesting. So, Hugo, what were some points that you brought to the floor? What do you see when you look at the 2026 monarchy that stands out to you as a strength? You're proud to be in the UK. You're proud that this is your royal family.
Well, when you get the king, you know, he's been trained since birth. He hasn't climbed the slippery pole of politics. He's there to serve, and he knows that, and he's on the side of Britain thoroughly. Look at the kind of elected heads of state. That was my final argument, that they get people like Armin, Obote, Makarios, Ceausescu, or dare I say it, even Donald Trump. You know, there are various people that are pushed up by the system. So that was really my main argument. And that, you know, of course, luckily he'd given that wonderful speech in Washington recently, and he was really the only person who could have done that, because President Trump respects him, and maybe Prince William. He doesn't respect anybody else in this country, and he was able to make subtle points and get away with it. I don't think anyone else could have done that. And you know, he brings a lot of experience to the role. And what was so interesting about when he changed from being Prince of Wales to King, he almost automatically overnight changed from being, if you like, an interfering Prince of Wales with his crazy ideas into an experienced head of state with the right to talk to other heads of state behind the scenes, soft power, you know. So there's lots of arguments pro the monarchy.
And that's so interesting too, because we sometimes celebrate Queen Elizabeth for not having that experience, but managing to be one of the greatest monarchs of all time, falling into this role, probably absolutely unenthusiastically. She absolutely loved her daddy. But then we have King Charles, who knew exactly how to fill her shoes and more, which is impressive. And I don't know if a lot of people expected that, Dickie.
I don't think a lot of people did expect it. And what we had Queen Elizabeth II actually learning the role on the job. Her father prepared her so far, but she actually learned on the job. Charles, on the other hand, learned before the job. So he came qualified, she came unqualified, but she learned pretty well. And she learned pretty quickly. And yes, she did things that she would never have done, the sort of things that Charles does. But he was already known for his views. And having expounded his views over the years, he said in 2018, when he turned 70 in a television interview, I know what a constitutional king is, and I'd be stupid to play the same role as the Prince of Wales. And people know his views, but he doesn't push forward those views. They know them. they're done and dusted.
Yeah.
And he is a constitutional king. But he had the advantage of learning on the job for 70 years.
Absolutely. Hey, everyone. Kinsey Schofield here, and I want to tell you about today's sponsor. It's a total game changer, Peak's Liver Detox Protocol. You may not know it, but your liver handles a lot: energy, hormones, digestion, and even your mood. But with all the stress and toxins from everyday life, it needs some love. Forget harsh cleanses. Peak delivers gentle daily support inspired by traditional Chinese medicine. Their routine uses 2 simple blends. The first is a warming turmeric mix with cinnamon and black pepper, designed to help the body absorb it better and support the liver while calming inflammation. The second is a ginger and cinnamon blend that helps with blood flow, digestion, bloating, and immune support. The magic is how they work together to activate and flush for better digestion, stable energy, less brain fog, and that light, clear feeling. My energy is consistent, my skin is clear, and less bloating. That's Peak, where spirit meets science. Redefine your standard of health, secure 20% off your order, and begin your intentional wellness journey today at peaklife.com/Kinsey. That's PIQUE life.com/Kinsey. Thanks so much. Hugo, you mentioned that the king was really the only person that could be in the position that he was in DC a month ago. And he has that relationship with President Trump. We were under the impression that Prince William might make his way to the United States to celebrate 250. I'm now hearing that he is so aware of the ecosystem. He's so aware of the way that the public feels about certain headlines that we will likely not see him for a 250th anniversary in the United States because there's the war in Iran. There are just a lot of difficult things going on, and he wants to be respectful of the way everybody feels. I mean, would that surprise you to know that he is that aware and that he is that considerate of what's going on in the world?
Well, he can be as considerate as he likes. If the government wants him to go, he will go. I mean, that's the whole point. I mean, the king obviously went with the full approval of the government. I mean, he wouldn't have gone otherwise. A lot of people saying the king wasn't going to go. Do you remember that?
That's true. That's absolutely true.
And I mean, I think it would be a pity if Prince William didn't go run about the 4th of July because, you know, the Queen famously was there in 1976 for the 200th anniversary, and we
want to see him eat a hot dog.
Well, yeah, I'm sure he'll eat a hot dog, but you know, the point is that he doesn't. You know, they have to be careful about their private feelings, whatever those may be. I mean, and that is the one mistake that I thought the Prince Charles made when he was Prince of Wales. I'm all for him expressing his views, and of course the interesting thing is that people don't have to listen to him, but he has the right, I think, to say it. So if he sees troops going into battle without the necessary equipment, he must say so. You know, they don't have to listen to him, but he must say so. But the big mistake I think he made was when he didn't go to the Chinese president's banquet, because had it been that he'd succeeded to the throne and had the government wanted him to go to China, either he might have said, I don't want to go, or the Chinese might have said, well, we don't want to have him. And that would have been a disaster. Don't you think?
It would have been a disaster, but if the government say you're going to go, we want you to go, you go.
Yes.
He is the constitutional monarch, and he is there representing the country, and it's the government who decide which country the monarch will go to, and there are no ifs and buts about it.
Wow.
He goes.
So is there a difference between Prince William, or is there I guess I'm asking, is there a strength in Prince William recognizing the temperature, or is that irrelevant? I think it might be a strength, but if you disagree with me, I would be happy to hear it.
William's caught between the devil and the deep blue sea because he's president of the Football Association. Is the England are representing the Football Association. He got castigated for not going to Australia for the women's football, and it would be foolish to not go. Because you are there representing your country. My guess is the government might say, look, you go with our blessing, but at the end of the day, it's about the Football Association inviting him He can't just say, I'm going, because somebody's got to pick up the tab, and it's the Football Association that does that. But it's when he goes, and should he decide to go, and I'm sure the government will step in and say, yeah, we want you to go because this is a significant date, the 250th anniversary. And they will add on some official engagements for him to do there. So it becomes not just a football-related visit, but it becomes an official visit as well.
It does feel like DC was such a home run for the UK and the King that a Prince William visit would just be the cherry on the top. You know?
Yes. And I'm sure the Americans would want him to come. That's very important.
Yes, he's just so charming. Well, let's stay on the topic of Prince William. He was speaking at London Tech Week this week. And what I love about him, not to jump to Prince Harry, but Prince William never just complains about he never just complains about a topic. He provides a solution. Yes, he's going to bring up this is what's going on, but he says, and this is how we fix it. And I thought this was a fascinating conversation that he drove around technology and homelessness. And he says, I think we can find the technology to look at patterns in bank accounts and determine whether or not you are on an irresponsible path. And then we can connect you to companies or charities that can work with you. He said homelessness is preventable. I mean, I got goosebumps listening to him talk about that. I mean, what a unique solution, using technology that's scaring a lot of us to prevent homelessness is, I think, very creative. Dickie, what do you think when you hear speeches like that from Prince William?
Well, I think he's got a very good idea in using technology and using the firms who are responsible for technology, because they're the only ones with the money today to be able to do things. But I think he's being a bit naive when he thinks that he can beat homelessness. Homelessness has been around for centuries. It's worse now than it's ever been. I mean, we're quoting figures of, I think, 430,000. I think that's only the tip of the iceberg. I'm sure that there are much more than that. But it is a difficult issue. They come to London, a lot of the homeless, because they think the streets are paved with gold. They're not. They're dirty pavements. There's no gold on the pavements. And they end up by sleeping in doorways, and they end up by sleeping under railway arches because there just isn't accommodation. The other side of the coin is they don't particularly want to go into shelters because there are rules, and a lot of them don't want to obey the rules. And the thing is, they go into a shelter, they bed down for the night, and then they've got to clear all their gear out and probably go back the next night, but they're not allowed to leave their stuff there. So they're faced with a very difficult situation of where to go, where to put their stuff. So they stay on the streets. And I'm just wondering whether and how good a move this is to get technology involved. William did announce a few weeks ago that the plans are to sell Duchy of Cornwall land to build affordable housing accommodation in London, in the Kennington area, south of the river. That's going to take years to achieve. It's not going to happen overnight. It's a very difficult issue, and it's not going to be solved overnight.
Hugo, how do you respond to that? I mean, I agree that that's a bold statement, that we could wipe it out completely. But it does it makes me feel good that someone is trying to. It makes me feel good that there are plans happening that I don't even know about, but I can see the wheels turning with him and his team. They've
Yes.
Dickie's just mentioned there are multiple different avenues that they're taking when it comes to this one particular cause.
Well, that's right. And I mean, even if he can't solve it, it's very good that he has a go, because he will definitely help. And one or two things that you mentioned, Dickie, I'm sure probably he will be thinking about too. I mean, for example, the shelters and people having to move their stuff, if that's a big issue, then let's have a look at it and see what can be done, because I can completely understand that. Of course, there will always be some people who actually probably feel happier in a doorway somewhere than
Well, he's
anyone
also
else.
very limited, right? Because from what Dickie was saying, I think that there does need to be some political interference, whether it's monitoring immigration better, or what, there does need to be some political interference when it comes to there not being enough homes here in the UK for the amount of bodies that are in the UK. So is Prince William limited because he has to stay away from politics?
Well, up to a point, but I think once again, it's the same situation that he's very well advised to raise the issues. How far he can take it is another matter, but it's definitely worth doing.
Can I ask you, and if you're not familiar with the stats, that's fine too, but in the United States, a lot of our homeless are veterans. Do you think it's similar here, where not only are we turning away vulnerable people, but we're turning away people that sacrificed so much of their lives for our country and for some of the benefits of our country?
Veterans tend to be looked after a lot better
in the UK?
In the UK
I'm glad to hear that.
than youngsters generally. As I said earlier, youngsters come here thinking London streets are paved with gold and find out that they're not. They leave home for all sorts of reasons, but there are elderly street sleepers as well, and they're not veterans, but veterans are particularly well looked after. There are a number of organisations, one of them which is the Royal British Legion, which is very active in providing accommodation for veterans and looking after them, and Help for Heroes is another one. But young people coming into London are finding it very difficult. They don't have any money, they can't get a job, and they end up on the streets. And what William is doing, an initiative, is a good idea, but the time has come to stop talking about it and doing something about it.
Let's talk about the Princess of Wales. I thought that this was interesting. Author Catherine Mayer, she's written a new book called Divide and Rule, Royal Women and Their Battles. And this is one of the positive stories I'm pulling from that book, because her comparisons to Meghan Markle and Anne Boleyn personally offended me. But this was a positive story about the Princess of Wales. She points out that Catherine's now familiar habit of personally photographing not only Prince William, but the children, has done more than provide sweet family snapshots. By regularly releasing intimate, candid images, the Waleses have been able to satisfy public interest on their terms while presenting a relatable, family-focused image. According to this author, the photographs create a sense of authenticity and help humanize the royal family in a way that resonates with the public. And then she talks about the princess's art history degree from the University of St. Andrews and how she's going to have that keen creative eye for how she wants to present the family that the public will respond to. Now, comparing the videos and the images we see from Catherine to Meghan Markle, I mean, Rupert Bell, who works at TalkSport and also does a show on my channel called Heirs and Spares, was like, poor Lily looks homeless in that Beyonce shirt. Like, he was like, the differences are ridiculous. And I had never thought about Catherine's history and her true passion about art and how that might be such a benefit to the way that she's presented the family. Hugo, does that, do you agree with that might be one of Catherine's strengths that I've just not realized?
Well, I think she's a good photographer, and so she takes these pictures, and that's great. But I think if she was to read this, she might think, what's going on? You know, authors have a habit of sort of trying to spin things in a particular way to make it sound interesting. I mean, in the past, you know, because we'll go back a long way. I mean, Princess Alexandra used to get photographed once a year with her family, and, you know, the pictures were always available. The Queen Mother was brilliant at posing for the photographs. She knew where the photographers were. She gave them what they wanted. And this was very effective.
She used to even ask, where do you want me to stand?
Well, there you go. You know, exactly. But she had an instinct for these things, and she realized that they were, you know, they needed to get a picture. If they got a picture, they went away happy. Okay, so Catherine takes her own pictures, and they're lovely and they're great. But and she's a good photographer.
What we are saying that the women that excel in the royal family do have that instinct, right? Is that what we can agree on?
Well, yes, but I also have always been sort of stating over and over that the most successful members of the royal family are the ones who support the monarch and don't compete with him. And I don't think Catherine competes at all. She's incredibly supportive of Prince William. She's never stepped stepped out of line. She's never tried to sort of push herself forward in any particular way. And that's brilliant. And there are other members of the royal family who do that. The ones who compete, sometimes inadvertently, they're the ones who get into trouble.
So do you think we're thinking, is this just too much? Like, we are not, Catherine is probably not sitting around going, I want all of my shots to look blue, and I want all of the children to look, like there's no real stripe.
Let's analyse this whole thing. Firstly, shots are produced on birthdays, whether it's the children, whether it's William or Catherine's, Mother's Day, Father's Day, and Christmas, which is fair enough. You've got to remember that what she is doing is saving William and the family for what he went through as a child. That there were always photographers around, there were always photo opportunities, and that's why he grew to dislike the media and dislike photographers in much the same way as Harry, that Diana was always up for pictures being taken, and if William happened to be there, William would sort of look and scowl because he didn't like it.
Remember when Ken Wharf told us he used to call them tographers? Yeah. So sweet. So sweet.
So what he is doing, and it's not so much him, but it is her, is taking away that pressure of media photographers and taking the pictures herself. Now, she was criticised a couple of years ago for allegedly doctoring a picture. She didn't doctor it. It was just tidying up a sleeve on Charlotte's cardigan. But the photo agencies made a big thing of it. They sent out a kill notice, incidentally 12 hours after the picture had been released. So they were instrumental in perpetuating this great animosity towards Catherine for taking photographs in the first place. I'm glad to see that it has settled down now.
Yeah, but that was also during the really difficult time of the palace saying, we're not going to give you regular updates. She had a lower abdominal surgery. Leave her alone, and nobody leaving her alone.
They seem to think that they've got God-given right to know everything, to take all the pictures, to know what's wrong with her, to know what sort of cancer she's got, not what cancer the king has got. They don't have a right. The fact that they were told that the king had an enlarged prostate, the fact that they were told that Catherine went in for an abdominal operation is a big bonus because it never happened under the late Queen Elizabeth II.
No. Oh, Hugo.
The problem with that photograph was that it was meant to reassure us that she was well, and of course because there had been some touching up, it failed to do that.
And it was a Mother's Day picture, for
Yes, I know. No, I appreciate all that, but then that's what forced her to then come out and sit on the seat and tell us what was going on, which was horrible.
Right. Yeah.
But I can see how that came about, and it was well intentioned, and as you say, a Mother's Day photograph. But it did also, I think you would agree, wouldn't you? There was also, when we saw that picture, first of all, we thought, well, she looks great. And then people said, well, actually, maybe she doesn't look great because maybe it's been touched up.
Yeah.
That was the problem with that picture.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you just released a new book about Queen Elizabeth this year. You would agree that they are telling us more than they used to tell us. I mean, even with her father, Queen Elizabeth's father, and his passing, they have been so much more transparent when it comes to their health. Almost to a fault. I mean, I do believe that Harry and Meghan have overshared, so our expectations are unfairly higher towards the working royals. But in your book and in that research, did you discover that there were several ailments, even Prince Philip's, that we weren't privy to at the time?
Oh, yes. Lots of things we weren't told. But as Dickie says, why should we be told?
Yeah.
I don't think we need to be told.
I think medical records need to be private. Everybody's entitled to privacy when it comes to medical. But I think the fact that we heard about what was wrong with Catherine, we heard what was wrong with Charles, and what was quite interesting with Charles when it was announced that he had cancer and he was having regular treatment during the week, that he was still going to work from Clarence House to Buckingham Palace, and to make sure that he was seen, he rolled the windows down on his car
so sweet,
so that he could be seen. Because as soon as you don't see an individual, there's all sorts of speculation. Is he in bed dying? Is he okay? Has he gone into retreat? The fact that he was seen working just calmed the waters completely.
All right, well, to a much less exciting topic, gentlemen. I apologize. I saved the least exciting for last. Let's talk about Prince Harry, who's going to be here in a month. He is here for a great cause, so I will celebrate that. We love the Invictus Games. We love our veterans. But as I'm sure you're aware, because you're both working royal commentators and have to deal with these questions daily, the countdown is on. Every day we're going to be asked if Meghan and the kids are coming with Prince Harry to do the countdown to the Invictus Birmingham. They do the 1-year event, but the official games are July of 2027. And it's an interesting debate that's happening, because Team Harry says, of course, Meghan and the kids will be here as long as Harry gets the security he wants. But then there's also whispers that perhaps the king is working with Prince Harry to slowly bring him back into the fold unofficially. Hugo, I have a hard time believing that the king would be coordinating anything with Harry, with his team basically blackmailing the palace through these briefs that they're only coming with the kids as long as they get their way security-wise. Do you agree, disagree? Do you have any sort of feeling on that?
Well, my feeling is that it would be very good if on a personal level Prince Harry could somehow reconcile with his father. I think his father would much appreciate that. We know that he's been very upset and distressed by the whole thing. We also know that he's left the door wide open. And also from the point of view of Prince Harry, if he does not reconcile with his family, then there's going to be even more going on in his head, because he will feel guilty about that, and he will feel, there were unresolved things, and that's not only what would happen to Prince Harry, it would happen to anyone with their father who had a difficult time. As for him doing anything towards helping the royal family and working royal, no, because he would be in, as we'll see, he's already in direct competition, even if it isn't his fault. Imagine he appears, Harry's doing this, William's doing that, the press build it all up and make it into a thing, so he would be counterproductive. But I hope on a personal level, even very privately, that something could be resolved between father and son.
Well,
I really would.
Very mature of you, Hugo.
Well, I know, but I think
you're very sweet. No, you're right. You're very sweet.
Because otherwise it's a horrible situation. It's something which he will carry through life, and he's got enough on his shoulders already, I think, with things he's done to feel guilty about.
Oh, I thought you were going in the direction of Donald Trump being like, you know what, I'm going to leave him alone. He married a pretty difficult woman, which is what he said a few months ago.
Well, he did.
Dickie, Hugo's absolutely right. It's my understanding that once Prince Harry lands here in the UK, he's going to be in our faces. Scotty's Little Soldiers is one of the charities that he works with. He plans to visit a lot of the charities that he's had a history with, and that will likely conflict with the working royals out and about doing their regular royal engagements. I mean, what can you do? Really nothing. You just have to keep calm and carry on, I guess.
You've got to keep calm and carry on. Harry and his team have a knack of doing things at the same time as the working royals are doing high-profile engagements. And no doubt it'll happen in July when Harry comes, the 17th, 15th?
The 10th. He should, the official event is the 10th, but I do believe, let me look at my calendar. I do believe he's going to be here before that. So yes, I think that we'll start seeing him on the 6th doing some of these royal engagements. The 10th is when he's officially kicking off 1 year till Birmingham, but I just think that we'll likely see a lot of Prince William too that week, and King Charles, and it will feel like a game of tug of war, and I don't think that that's beneficial towards the working royals. I even if he is doing good work, even if he is working with these great charities, it feels like it's
actually it's counterproductive to the working royals, and Harry has got a knack of breezing in and breezing out, and our great British media fall for it and pursue him to the expense of the others. I mean, there's also been reported that he's kind of forgiven his father.
Oh, come on.
For what?
He said that, though it hasn't been reported. He said that in the BBC interview, that he forgave his family. I remember being like,
For what?
Yeah. Excuse?
And quite frankly, in terms, I agree with Hugo. Every parent wants to reconcile with their children, but until you can put faith and trust in them, there's not going to be any reconciliation. And Harry has so far not shown any way that you can put faith and trust in him, because he talks to the media even before the doors hit him in the shoulder on the way out.
Hugo, I'm gonna get a mean soundbite out of you, even if I have to pinch you. Okay.
Right.
Do you not think that it is extortion for Harry's crew to leak to media that Harry is happy to bring his wife and children over if he gets what he wants security wise?
Well, security-wise, I mean, if he's in danger, he will be protected, but he doesn't need any security at the taxpayer's expense because he's not a working royal. He's not doing anything for anyone except himself.
But he would get it at the taxpayer's expense if he gave Ravik the 28 days notice that's required of him today. I'm under the impression that he has the right security system.
I would think that I'm told that they keep quite a strong eye on him and what he's up to anyway.
Yes,
sure. And they don't want to put anyone in danger if they can avoid it. But,
and it just feels like a little hissy fit entitlement that he wants this armed security no matter what, whenever he hits the ground in the UK.
He actually wants to go. He wants to be able to go public and say, "I have won. I have got armed security." Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, the Metropolitan Police, who are responsible for the security through their protection department, assess everything long before he arrives and decide what sort of security he's going to get. There is always armed security when Harry comes to this country. It's just not overt. It's covert. And quite frankly, to make a song and dance about it, to sue the Home Office.
Your dad, basically.
For security. I mean, that's what he's been doing all along. He sues anybody that he's likely
encouraged by his lawyers as well.
Well, it's the lawyers that make the money. Yeah. They're the ones that win, not Harry.
And that's why we will say allegedly a couple of times while talking about Prince Harry. Allegedly.
The police always assess.
Yeah.
And when it comes to a royal, where they are going, it is assessed, and he has armed protection. But he doesn't have armed protection 24/7.
All right. Can I tell you guys one last royal secret before we go?
Can't wait.
Dickie Arbiter is wearing lip gloss.
I beg your pardon?
You're wearing lip gloss.
Yeah, it's Vaseline, actually, because my lips are cracked.
So handsome, my Dickie Arbiter, Hugo Vickers. Thank you so much for spending time with me this morning. My men, I love you too very much, and I'm so glad I got to see you while I was in the UK, and hopefully I get to see more of you while I'm here. But it was a pleasure to catch up with you, and I almost got a mean soundbite out of you, Hugo. I tried my hardest. I need to pump you full of caffeine before you sit down with me.
Caffeine?
Yeah, well, won't that make you a little hungry?
Maybe something alcoholic.
Oh, okay. Well, we could. It is 8 a.m. and it's 9 a.m. But I can do that next time. Absolutely. All right. Well, agree with us, disagree with us. Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. And both of these men have books available on Amazon. So peruse, make a purchase, and support my friends. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you again next time.